6:05 in the boardroom on January 12, 2016. Call this meeting to order. Mr. Secretary, do we have a quorum?
We have a quorum established.
Okay, thank you, sir. Since we do have a quorum, we will now go to this public meeting on the Seguin ISD 2014-2015 Texas Academic Performance Report, the PEAMS Financial Standard Report, the District Accreditation Standard Status Report on Violent or Criminal Incidents, and a report from the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board on Student Performance in Post-Secondary Institutions. Mr. Rowe.
I'll turn it over to Ms. Roman. She's going to do a presentation with regards to this.
Thank you, Ms. Rowe.
Good evening. It's great to be here. President, Board Member, Mr. Flores, Superintendent Rowan, and Board members, thank you for having me. As you know, every year, the state requires certain things in certain reports that we give. The Texas Education Code requires us to give a report on the TAPER, the Texas Academic Performance Report, the Campus Performance Objectives, the Violent and Criminal History Incident Report, the Higher Education Report, and the Financial Report. Many of these reports you've seen before, but they're in just a different form. I plan on going through this not too fast, but not too slow. If I begin to go too fast, don't hesitate to slow me down and ask questions as we go along. So we'll start out with the Texas Academic Performance Report. What this covers is information on student performance, staffing, programs, demographics on each school as well as the district. So there will be a TAPER report for the school and each school, and then a total one for the district. It also gives us our accountability rating, which we've talked about before. The district met standards, all the schools met standards except for 2. And then a new thing this year is a special education determination status. On this, we have needs assistance, which means we were watched last year. Remember, you had the special education probably gave you a report, and the TA came and had a visit on site. This is just a follow-up from that. When they see problems or they see things that need assistance, and they go ahead and put that in the report. It's kind of a formality at this point because we've already put together a improvement plan that's been approved by the state, and so everything's in place, and our special ed department's doing a great job of making sure all those things are taken care of. Next is the student performance objectives. Those are aligned to our district objectives. We have, I'll show you on the next slide, we have Goal 1, student achievement, Goal 2, safe and nurturing environment, Goal 3, family involvement and community engagement, Goal 4, operational effectiveness and efficiency, and Goal 5, human resources. With that, it's just maintaining and keeping teachers on board and trained and ready to go each and every year. This is how it appears in our improvement plan that we submitted to the state, and all these things are in place. The campuses will take these objectives and then look at their individual campus. They do a campus needs assessment, and they take our 5 objectives and then make it individualized to their campus. Again, these were 2 of them, plus the district was submitted to the state this year. You can see our accountability status here, which is another thing we must go over. Again, we've talked about this on several occasions. The independent school district met standards along with all the campuses, and then we have a couple of campuses that got little gold stars for student progress, meaning they were in the top 25% of their group, and those would be Barnes and Weiner. So let's look at some of the changes. What's different from last year to this year? And again, remember, all the things that I'm reporting on this year are about things that happened last year, the 2014-15 school year. Some of the things that were different on The accountability ratings did not take into account STAR math on grades 3 through 8. It was a baseline year. They had changed the TEKS, and so we gave the STAR math. Although we gave it, it did not count as our performance report in our accountability, but you will see it on your TAPER report. Also STAR A, which is accommodated. Those are special education students that receive some accommodations. Their scores did not count, as did the STAR Alt. Those are our most needy of special ed students, usually in the life skills department. They were excluded too, again, because it was a baseline year. So due to the baseline year and it being math, we also only have 1 year. Typically, in your TAPER report, you'll see like 2014 and how you did, and then 2015 and how you did. So you can see if you're going up or down between the years. This year they left that off due to the fact that there were so many things that were left out on the report. It wouldn't be valid to try to compare them since it was a baseline year. And then SSI, remember that's a Student Success Initiative for 5th and 8th graders to retest the math. Again, since it's baseline year, they only took it one time. Some of the additions was the special ed determination status that we talked about just a minute ago, the CTE cohort, all subjects added to STAR percent met or exceeded, and STAR percent exceeds progress. Used to be the old commended, now it's exceed progress. They've added that. The advanced placement participation, advanced course dual enrollment, and then lastly was teachers' highest degree held data. So now they have included that in the report as well. One of the things that they have asked us to go over is, what does your district look like? This is kind of our ethnic breakdown. We had 69% Hispanic, 24% white. Then you see the other African American 5%, 2 or more races 1%, Pacific Islander 0, Asian 1, American Indian 0. It kind of gives you a breakdown of what our campuses look like. And then what are some of the programs that we have and that our people are in? And we have 68% of economically disadvantaged, which to give the inverse of that is non-economically disadvantaged is 31.7. English language learners, 10%. Student with disciplinary placement is 2.3, very low, and at risk 51.5. Enrollment by program, we have our bilingual ESL 9.9, career and tech 23.2, very good number. We would like to get our kids trained so that when they graduate, they have a certificate or something that they can do if they, for 2 reasons. If it's a certificate and they're going to college, then they can get a better job than a minimum wage job, and if they're not, then they're prepared to go right into the workforce. So that's a very good number to have. Our gifted and talented is 5.9, and our special education is 9.2. This is just more of the things that we have talked about in the past about our student performance. We have noticed that our area of significant need is going to be our English language learners along with our special education. We're looking at things to improve those. For example, we have bilingual and special ed aides in the classroom to help. We pre-teach the vocabulary, meaning if you're thinking about teaching osmosis next week, you might teach the students on Friday. They would bring this bilingual aides or special ed aides, tell them about the vocabulary for the next week, give them little flashcards, let them practice with them for the following week. That way when they show up to class on Monday, they already know some of the vocabulary. So that's been a real effective tool that we've used. We also do a lot of co-teach, inclusion, goal setting with these students, specific goal setting, along with weekly meetings. And one of the exciting things that's going to be happening here in this spring semester is we're pairing up with TLU. They're going to be coming in, bringing students. I believe there's about 6 students that are going to be coming to Vogel 1 day a week for about hour to hour and 15 minutes to work with students in 2nd and 3rd grade in the area of bilingual education. So working one-on-one, getting more help, along with a student teacher that's going to be with the teacher in there. So there's going to be some help from our local university in the classrooms. More of the performance in the science and the social studies. Again, we're looking at improving those areas. The next thing that is on the list of must-dos is looking at our accreditation status. You can see here that we have our first rating is superior achievement. I believe that's been going on in this district for many, many years, and that's something to be very, very proud of. Superior achievement in the financial area, accountability, met standard, and our accreditation status is that we are accredited, and there are no problems with that. Next is a violent and criminal incidents. The Texas statute requires every district to publish an annual report on violent and criminal incidents on campuses and in the district. So we're going to go over that. You have to have your number, get information about it. And you can see here at the very top, we have 0 felony incidents going all the way. That's very, very important. We have a couple of concerns we have for a district this size. When you have, I think there was 2 incidents of illegal knives, that's still great. We have a very safe campus. We have no issues with that. So how do we get these excellent results? These are some of the things that we do. We kind of have a carrot and stick approach. We have our response to intervention, which is a behavior tiered intervention. So as we see students experiencing trouble, we begin very early on with helping them, developing skills, developing trigger points, and giving them strategies on when they feel certain things, how they can get help, who can they talk to, and things like that. All the teachers are trained in that, and we have also campuses that have special designated teachers and paraprofessionals that help along with that, so that they can get help immediately when they're feeling anxious or needing are experiencing some out-of-control behaviors. So we have very little of that, but then we also have the security officers on all secondary campuses. We have random drug testing. We have a safety tip and bullying reporting procedures. We also had bullying, extensive bullying training, not only for our staff, administrators, but also for our parents this year, and it was offered during school and after school. So that is something that's very important to all of us here in Seguin ISD. And then lastly, we have coordination with the Guadalupe County Juvenile Probation Service and local law enforcement. Have very good working relationships with them. So let's look at our report on the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. Again, it's required by law to include in the TAPER report that how our students are doing once they exit Seguin ISD and get into either the 4-year college, 2-year college, technical college, and how they're performing when they get there. You can see here that we had 81 total graduates that went to a 4-year public university, 23 of them C students are below, 9 above that, and 26 B, and 13 getting close to B plus, and 10 getting close to the A range. So very good numbers there. Again, a 2-year public college had 66 went there, and you can see their grades. Then we have independent colleges and universities that are non-trackable, not found, and then total high school graduates. So some people opt out of letting us know where they've gone. But again, you see those very good numbers. Seguin has a lot to be proud of. Here we go with our financials. And again, y'all, we've always had superior ratings here. This report carries a lot of information. You can see here our receipts. You can see the total fund balance. You can see all our expenditures by objects like payroll, other operating costs, capital outlay, debt services, all those sorts of things. You can also see it by function. All our money is budgeted. So now let's look at some common questions that people may have with all this information. Sometimes the district data that we presented in the past may be a tad different, a little bit different from what you see on this report. So why does that happen? When a district is running their reports, oftentimes they will run all the students in the district, because we're interested in all the students in the district. We want everyone to be succeeding and getting ahead. Whereas the state looks at every student that was here on the last Friday in October and the day of testing. Those are the only students. So if a student is not here on either one of those dates, their information is not going to fall within this information. Okay? So just know that this information, if there's a little bit different, it's because we look at all the children. We look at more children than what the state looks at. Okay? So if someone came in, say, checked in November 1st, we had them all year. We're very concerned about those students. We follow them, whereas the state will not. Okay. Let's look at some other changes. This is probably the most important change of all. And I'm going to go over this slowly so that we all get a good handle on what we're doing. When the state decides on our STAR testing, which is what most of this information is based upon, they make the rules. And every year they change a little bit. Okay? For Seguin, the last 3 years, they've kind of been on a little downward trajectory, right? We've all talked about that. The state, on the other hand, has been on an upward trajectory, making it more and more difficult to pass. And you can see, as you're going like this, you're going to collide at some point. And a couple of our campuses did that. We do not want any more campuses doing that. So what we are in the process of doing, and we have to commend, I believe all our principals are here tonight, we have to commend them because they are under great pressure, and they are doing everything possible to make sure every single student is successful. Because not only do we need to take that trajectory, that downward, and push it up, we're going to have to push it up at a faster rate than maybe some other schools are going to have to do. Okay, what I want to show you here is students must answer more questions correctly this coming year than they did in previous years. You might have heard in the news how they kept it steady for I think it's 3, maybe 4 consecutive years. They were going to do a big bump, 4 questions, but the state commissioner has decided he's going to do it in a 2-year graduated bump up. So next year, most tests will you have to answer 2 more questions correctly in order to pass than you did the year before. I believe there's 15 areas where you have to get 2 more questions correct, and there's 5 areas where you have to get 1 more question correct. So you can see what our students and teachers and administrators are looking at this coming year. We ran the numbers to see what would it look like if we did the exact same this year as we did last year with the new standard. We would have dropped anywhere between 2 and 15 points depending on the grade level, the subject, and campus, with an average drop being of about 7 points. So you can see that would have caused some heartbreak for our teachers and staff. So we're looking very closely at that. Again, I went ahead and just put it on a graph and thought I'd give you an example. If we scored 76% last year and we score 76% this year, we have made great gains because our students are more prepared. I don't know if that makes sense to everybody, but I wanted to really make that clear that we're planning on doing better than we did last year. But when you see better results, you're going to see that means better times 2. Okay? So our teachers and principals, where are our principals? There we are. I knew they were here. But we all need to give a hand to them because they are working very hard. And they're coming over the data and they're getting help for each and every student that needs it. Okay. So if you're interested in some reading of this paper report, these are some places where you can go to find it. We will have them in on every single campus, in the campus libraries and offices, and also at the central office as well. So really, in a nutshell, I just went over this whole report right here. So I know I went over it quickly. If you have any questions, I would be very happy to entertain them.
Are there any questions for the board members? As you're aware, you all received this packet on Friday, so I'm sure you spent a good weekend reviewing this report. So are there any questions from any of the members? Yes, sir. Mr. Guerrero.
I'd just like to thank you, Ms. Rome, for the hard work you've been doing, and just like to say a few words to the board here. and not to you, I'm gonna read something. Mr. Rome and President and board members, I'm addressing the board today to remind us to put all our academic achievements of our students first, challenging classes, passing grades, passing test scores, high graduation grades, and college-ready students. And that is what we're here for. Last year's data from the test achievement performance report is a little troubling. I gave Mr. Rome my support when he was hired because I believe that he can make the necessary changes to improve the quality of education in Seguin ISD. I expect the Texas Academic Performance Report to show improvement. I will support Mr. Rome in this net improvement of quality of education in Seguin. Mr. Rome is our superintendent, and he deserves the opportunity to turn things around in the Seguin ISD. And make no mistake, it is a turnaround. Under the previous leadership, we had 2 failing schools, other 2 barely made the grades. These results are unacceptable. According to the data that we've been reported to the board this academic year, we are moving in a positive direction. Grades are improving, and we have every reason to believe that the test scores will follow. I would like to thank the staff and the teachers of this district for trying their hard work. I am proud of our students for doing their best, and I thank you all for sticking with the plans that we started this summer, and go Matadors. Thank you.
Mr. Rowan, I'd too like to, Mrs. Rowan administration, thank y'all for what y'all do, but I must say the principals and your staff, your teachers, and your aides and all, I want to say thank y'all for the work that y'all are doing. Y'all are where the rubber meets the road, so please know that this administration and this board supports you 110%, and we are here for you. We always have been, and we will be in the future, and we will continue to support you. So good job, keep up the good work, and thank you all very much. Any other comments, board members? Hearing none, this public hearing is now adjourned. It is 6:27.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.